Hey, Jacob, how you doing?
I'm good. How about yourself, Scott?
I am awesome. Amy is with us as well. Amy, you doing well?
Yeah, yep. I'm glad to be on this call. Glad to have something to do to break up the boredom of my days now, and excited to be talking to Jacob.
Yeah, and we're all in different locations because we're all in what I can't even say any words anymore. I worked 4 10-hour days this week, and I am spent quarantined. That's the word, quarantined.
Yeah.
But
I will try to live up to my hype, Amy, for you, but there are absolutely no promises. I will attempt to make your day better.
Oh, I like it. I like it.
Well, the first thing we wanted to do is wish you a belated happy birthday. I know you turned 30 just 2 days ago.
I did. What is today? Yes? No, it was yesterday? I don't remember. Whatever. It was on Monday. So Monday. No, Tuesday. I don't remember. I turned 30 this week at some point during this week. I don't remember what day it was, but thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So were you able to celebrate it all with everything going on?
We actually had my wife threw me a surprise birthday party in the gym on Sunday. So it was before any of this really got closed or the governor started limiting people, because I think we had like 50 people there. So
Wow,
it would have been illegal like 5 days later.
Yes. Just in time.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. Well, when we were setting this up, it's kind of cool. You had said that this is your rest day, and so it's a good day for you on a Thursday, but you actually set time aside for your wife and family for the weekend, and I thought that was a really cool thing that you do. And so how long have you been married?
I 6 years. I will have been married
careful.
6. Yeah. It's a loaded question. Yeah. I will have been married 6 years this July.
Wow.
That's cool.
So still pretty young, but yeah, so still great.
Well, this is the year I'll be married 20 years, and we got married when we were 22. So we got married pretty young, and pretty excited that in the year 2020 we get to have some positive news and celebrate the 20th this year. So
it's the only thing positive so far going on this year, I feel like.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so how did you guys meet?
We met in college. She was a freshman. I was a junior. We met in college. We were friends for about 4 years, actually. And it wasn't, I actually tried to date her many, many times, and she refused it. And so I was essentially friend zoned. And so I finally one day just got sick of it. I was sick of it. And I said, here's the deal. I said, you either date me or you will never see me again in your life ever again. I will leave. I can't take this anymore. I'm not doing this. And she goes, okay, how long do I have? And I'm like, she's like, she goes, I was like, you have a week. And she's like, oh, I was like, what did you want? She's like, I wanted like a year to decide. I was like, a year to decide? Like, that's a bit long time. So anyways, yes.
Yeah.
Strong marriages are built off ultimatums as the foundation.
I mean, for real.
Proven fact.
You were friends for 4 years, and she needed another year?
Yeah, I don't know what she was deciding. I'm not really exactly sure. Like, what is there to decide at this point? But either get rid of me or take me. So
right. Well, luckily she made the right decision.
Yeah, well, we will figure that out. But yes, right now we definitely think it's the right decision.
Well, that's really cool, and I love the fact that you actually set that time aside from everything and don't do anything on the weekends, but spend time with your family, and that's really cool.
Yeah, on Sundays for me, that's it. Because on Saturdays, I'm still swamped doing things. But on Sunday, I pretty much, it's a Sabbath for me. I pretty much go to church and lay down and hang out with her and the dog. So I don't do much anything. So try to keep it that way.
Cool. Well, so in my research, I saw that you were at one time a defense analyst.
Yeah. So my bachelor's degree is in mathematics. And so I went and worked for the Army, the DoD, as a civilian, as essentially an ORSA, which is an operations research systems analysis. It's essentially a guy or girl, as a job. The job is to help make decisions, backing it up with some form of mathematics. So pretty simple stuff. So yeah, I worked for the Army for about 3 years, I think.
Is that how Jack Ryan got started?
Yes. Well, no, he was an analyst, right? Yeah. I think, yeah. But see, the thing is, like, if you take Jack Ryan and compare him to like the group essentially the group I worked with, he would be the one out of place because he was obviously very fit, very good with firearms. The people I worked with were great people, but they were all very, math oriented people who necessarily don't play a lot of sports. So I kind of stood out as a sore thumb, as probably as Jack Ryan would too. So.
And so
well, I heard your YouTube or your it might have been a podcast. I can't remember which one I heard, but where you were talking about that, and then that you had you quit your job so that you could focus full time on your YouTube channel and on your training. So is that still your focus, or are you back to doing some of that work as well?
No, yeah. So, that was a different job. So I worked, graduated college,
Okay.
worked for the Army for a few years. Loved it. Great opportunity. Learned a lot of good things. Met a lot of good people. And then quit my job there and worked as a project manager for a web development company that was out of Raleigh, North Carolina. So I worked from home as a project manager. Not something I went to school for, but I mean, like, to be honest, like in my mind, college teaches you how to think outside the box. Is the one thing you learn how to think and communicate with people. And like, you can really do any job as long as you know how to communicate, talk well, and be a quick learner. And so I learned really quick how to be a project manager. Did that for many, many years. And then many, many years. I'm only 30, so not that many years. Right? Many, many years, like 20, right? And did that for a few years. And then this past June, leading into the CrossFit Games, I decided, you know what? I had so much on my plate. I was doing so much. And most of them was a revenue stream. Usually my mindset is I'm not going to sink time. People seem to think it's a little bit harsh, but I'm not going to sit around and waste time doing something that isn't I can't monetize or can't bring in as a revenue stream. It's not worth my time. And so I was doing a YouTube channel, which I thoroughly enjoyed the creative aspect of it. And they allowed me to create a following that I could monetize. At the same time, after I was done competing, I can still use that to stay relevant in the sport. So I was doing a YouTube channel. I ran a small business I own and operate called Midwest Made, which essentially is my programming that you can join me and do the same programming I'm doing on a week in, week out basis. And then I was also training for the CrossFit Games, and it was just, and then having a full-time job on top of it. And it was just too much to run. It was just like, oh, how many hours a day do I have? Oh, not that many. And so I decided, I was like, look, I'm young. I'm 29 at the time. I want to quit my job, focus on these other revenue streams, this opportunity. And, at the end of it, if 5 years from now I have to go back and get a job, great. But I'd rather give it a shot now, take that chance now, becoming an entrepreneur and seeing where I can go with that, instead of thinking back 10 years from now, man, shoulda, woulda, coulda, what if I'd have done that? Rather take that shot now. So that's what I did. Yeah, quit my job in June. And since then, just became pretty much a full-time entrepreneur. Love the idea of me being my own boss. And I don't think I will ever go back to being told what to do, other than my wife.
Right.
Caveat.
Yeah.
Oh, and what I loved about it, because I'm a former statistician, when you did your YouTube analysis of could you afford to quit your job, like I loved how you broke that down piece by piece.
Yeah, I mean that's what I talk about is, I mean, to be honest, like a degree in statistics, a degree in mathematics, especially mine being in pure mathematics, not like being engineering. I think a degree like that, a lot of kids will ask, I get this all the time, like, why do I need to learn how to find an X in an equation? Why do I need to learn trig? Why do I need to learn calculus? And you're right, like, I don't go out on a daily basis and use derivatives in my life. You're exactly correct. But I think what math in the STEM field teaches kids and college students is how to think outside the box and how to use that in different areas you wouldn't normally use it in. Like me, I feel very confident speaking to a group of people and breaking down questions like that and being like, I think I did a video on how do CrossFitters make money. And I broke it down and talked about on YouTube. I broke down and talked about, hey, like, here's a full-time job you might have, and you're paying this much amount in taxes. Here's what you could possibly make in the CrossFit field, and here's how much you'd be paying in taxes. So, like, can you live off of CrossFit? You know, how do we answer that for people? Because there's a lot of people out there that look at the CrossFit space and are honestly not sure how we make money. And that's a viable question, an honest to goodness good question. But I think breaking it down and using a degree like that in the STEM field is really helpful, because it allows you to break it down in such a way that's obtainable and understandable by certain people.
Yeah, it was very well done. And since we're talking about your YouTube channel, it really has kind of taken off. I watch it all the time, and you're always doing different things. You never know what's coming out next. So how do you come up with all these ideas?
Yeah, so I'm blessed to have a lot of sponsors that listen to me to a degree. And they probably have to think to themselves, this idea is stupid. We're not going to do this. But I kind of started the channel, I don't know, a couple years ago, and decided the main reason for it is forward thinking. I decided that I didn't want to be, at the end of my career in CrossFit, I didn't want to get stuck hypothetically with my pants down, meaning like, oh, I injured myself, or I'm deciding to leave the sport and I can't stay relevant in the sport. Because a lot of guys will do that, guys and girls. They will leave the sport, but they don't stay relevant in the sport enough so that their sponsors still want them. They can still go to events. They can still stay relevant in the sport and still continue to talk and people listen to them. And I said, you know what? If I start a YouTube channel and I continue it, I can create a space of long-term content that I can continue to have and stay relevant in the sport. So I decided to do that. And then I quickly realized as it grew that I could use this as a bargaining chip for sponsors, a bargaining chip in negotiations, and in order to get another way of getting sponsors' content out there, or their products out there per se, or what they offer to people. And so, you know, it's great. Like, I have some great sponsors that back me. But and what I tell all of them usually is, and I usually use FitAid as an example because they're like my longest sponsor I've ever had, is when people follow Jacob Heppner, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on Instagram, like they expect to see, you know, pictures of my product, sponsors and stuff like that. But they don't want to see it every day, right? They want to see my everyday life, and they want to see random creative stuff. And so that's what I've pitched to a lot of sponsors is like, look, I have no problem posting about your product, but let's actually do projects together. Let's do some cool stuff together where we can go out of the box and do something crazy. And so that's what we did with FitAid. It was we did Jacob of all trades, which was kind of mimicked,
which was awesome.
Yeah, mimicked and mirrored. It's actually surprising. I thought it was awesome, but it didn't go over as well as I thought it would on YouTube. Now, granted, it's still up and it still gets views, you know, but like I thought it was going to do much better. So we're actually looking at doing a second season, but we're going to have to change things up to make it more, I don't know. We're going to have to change some things up to make sure that YouTube grabs it and shows it to people more. We didn't get the viewage that we really wanted on it, but you're right. We had a great time doing it. It was great content. The purpose of it was, hey, let's go out and do some random things in the community that are outside the quote unquote box. And let's give the money that we make from this back to local charities. A lot of the companies we work with were either local non-for-profits or were connected with them. I think the first one we did was a hit. Was I went to it wasn't an all ladies dance class. I shouldn't say that. It was essentially a high heel dance class that were a majority, like 99.9% women. And so I show up in high heels. That granted,
That's awesome.
I've never worn high heels in my life. And if I did, I'm not going to claim it on the podcast. Right. But like never wore high heels, showed up, and I am not a dancer, but I showed up and had probably the best experience of my life because it was cool to get outside of your comfort zone and to do different things with different people and to be accepted for it. You know, there's a lot of sports and things you go into where new people or rookies aren't really accepted or kind of looked down upon, but it was cool to do different things like that where people were like, hey, you don't know how to dance and you don't know how to walk in high heels? No worries. I'll explain to you. Let's go through this dance that we're going to learn about Beyonce or whatever. And so there's a lot of cool experiences we did there. I think what did we do? Dance in high heels, served ice cream, rode a horse.
Yeah, the ride a horse was a good one too.
Yeah, the ride a horse was a good one. So yeah, we're going to try and do a second season. I pitched it to FitAid because I'm closely connected to St. Jude Research Hospital because of my younger sister being a cancer survivor through them. And so I actually pitched it to FitAid to do a second season on St. Jude. Everything was on St. Jude's campus, and I would do different jobs every day for like 6 days. And essentially all the money would go to St. Jude for that. But the problem is right now, we're getting a loophole thrown for us because that whole campus is essentially on quarantine because all the kids have very low immune systems, and you just can't come on campus. So, but yeah, we're still pitching the idea. But yeah, there's a lot of cool ideas. I pitched a lot of sponsors to do on the YouTube channel. I think it's an opportunity for athletes and influencers to show the creative side, and that's what I've essentially used it for.
Well, and what I really appreciate about what you do is you touch on what are perceived to be taboo topics, and you're very open about them. Like, can a CrossFitter, a professional CrossFitter, earn a living doing CrossFit? Talking about salary and money and all that stuff is typically taboo. Other things are, you take a workout that's coming up in a sanctional and you say, this is going to be my strategy and I want to see if I can do it. And then you record it. A lot of athletes wouldn't show their hand like you do there. And I really appreciate that. And I think it leads to more viewers for you.
Yeah, I think the reason I did that in the beginning was because when you're, as an entrepreneur, as someone looking in this space, you have to ask yourself, is there a target audience for this? What's my target audience? And is there an opening for this? And what I quickly realized was there was a gap in our sport, and the gap existed where, at the time, barely. Honestly, no one even does it now. It's pretty much just like Noah and me, pretty much. Noah and myself, Olsen. But no CrossFit Games athlete back in the day was ever showing full-length workouts. It was like, no way. And I'm not even going to show my open workout. It was nothing. You can see nothing. It wasn't even like it was that, but not only that, it was also, I don't even want you to see my programming. And, granted, like, I understand that you don't want to show your programming, but it's not, your programming isn't the magic bullet. It's the work you put into it that really determines who you are and how successful you are. So I decided, you know what? To heck with it. I'm going to do a 2-prong attack here. Number one, I'm going to show you my full programming. That's true Midwest made. I'm not hiding anything. You can see it. If you want to do it with me, great. If you want to beat me, awesome. I don't care. Come, let's all do it together. That was the first prong. The second prong was, I'm going to show you full-length workouts, the good, bad, and the ugly. I'm not afraid of showing you a video of me failing and falling apart. And honestly, I've put up videos of me quitting workouts. Most people will be like, oh, whoa, I would never show that. No.
That just shows what a real person you are.
Yeah, there's a gap in our society where people want to show the perfect side of their life on Instagram and on YouTube and in all social media aspects. And, that's fine and dandy. That's cool, but at the same time, it's depressing to people. You want to show them the real parts of life where they can connect with you and say, you know what? Some person might have gone to a CrossFit gym today for the first time and they quit a workout. And they want to come back and say, okay, if they look on social media, all they see is, no one quits a CrossFit workout. That's absolutely not true, because I've quit many, many times. And so I want them to see that and think, oh, well, if Jacob Heppner quits a CrossFit workout, then I can too, because we're all human. And I want to show that raw, unfiltered side of, look, this is me. Like, I'm not going to hide anything. We'll talk about all sorts of taboo topics. I don't really care. Obviously, there's a lot of topics off topic we won't talk about because not many people want a conservative's belief from Kansas. But, but other than that, I'll talk about anything in the sport because it's not because I want to garner views and I want to get subscribers. It's because I think out there people appreciate that and it resonates with them.
Yes, I agree.
Well, one example is before the Pandaland Championship. Yeah. You did it was like the heavy squat clean. Front squat combo with the rope climbs, I believe. You told us the strategy before you filmed it. This is what I want to accomplish. And then as you're going through it, it gives us something to root for. Is he going to do it? Is he going to get it? Is he going to do what he said he was going to do? And it adds like this like watching sports kind of element to your video.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it. It allows me to do a lot of things. Am I always going to – you have to realize that a channel like that, certain channels you put on YouTube will grow with you and will pivot as you go. So, like, for instance, take an example. Someone who maybe has a YouTube channel that can game, that does esports, essentially. They can probably play video games for the rest of their life, right? Because it's not going to – because they can unless they lose their hands or get arthritis.
Maybe
But
get carpal tunnel.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God forbid. But like for me, I can't continue to work out, and people aren't going to want to watch that forever, right? So I have to be willing to let people to put up random stuff and people to realize that this is a channel about my life. It's going to at some point probably pivot. It's probably going to pivot. What I mean by pivot is pivot away from something that you're used to something that you're not used to. Jacob of all trades is a great example. That's not something that my channel did in the beginning, but I want the ability and the creativity to do whatever I want. Do I want to do a vlog about me traveling to China for Pandaland? Do I want to do me doing a workout video? Do I want to show me going and dancing in high heels for Pete's sake? These are the options I want to keep available and open so that when I am done competing, I can pivot away from that and show other things of my life, essentially.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I respect that completely. Well, I know Amy had a couple questions.
Well,
yeah, hit me, Amy. You won't stump me.
So, well, first of all, I remember Scott and I both got to meet you at the 2016 regionals here in Columbus. So I remember we both kind of did separate things. So I remember watching you there. And so I think that was then, and, my kids were starting to finally get excited with me about CrossFit, and they were, would start following you on Instagram. And a while ago, my son would say, he's like, that Jacob Heppner, man, he really loves his gun and his dog.
I do. I think I was almost late on this call today because I was shooting a bow today with him, and then not a gun, but a bow. And then we were at the track running around the dog, just going ham, just doing random things, the dog. So, yeah.
So tell us about Winston.
So honestly, I grew up with dogs, but didn't have one for a while. College and you're single, and I'm not going to have a dog. And my wife actually didn't grow up with any animals at all, any pets of any kind. She grew up on a ranch with cattle, but not with like any kind of dog of any kind of sort of pet. And so she always kind of said, I never want a dog, never want a dog. We bought this house in Kansas, and it has 10 acres of land that came with it. And the lady, when she left, she said, hey, the house, I'm selling it as is. She goes, the dog comes with it. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay, fine. Yeah, sure. Okay, the dog comes with it. So we showed up, and we bought the house. I showed up, and there was a dog. A ranch dog came to the house. Her name was Daisy. Should we have a dog? And the dog came to the house. She was moving into town. She didn't want to take her dog into town. It was a ranch dog, old dog. And so it was kind of a blessing because Kelly got used to having a dog run and liking it. The dog provides companionship. It also barks when someone comes around, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so without that dog, we probably never would have got Winston. And so finally, I had been looking for a dog for a while, and she wanted to get a Corgi. So I was looking for a Corgi to buy and couldn't find one. She finally found one and surprised me for Christmas a couple of years ago. And it was actually a funny story. I had dogs, but I'd never had an indoor dog. Okay. I was always used to being like, the dog's outside. That's just the way it is. I lived in California for most of my life. And so I wasn't used to potty training a dog inside a house. Never had done it. And having to wake up every hour on the hour and let this dog out drove me bonkers. And so 3 days in, I finally told Kelly, I said, I can't take this dog. Oh, she's like, what do you mean? I was like, this dog is killing my training. I cannot sleep. I was like, we need to just sell this dog. Get rid of this dog, sell it to somebody. We can easily sell it to a cute dog. And so she actually started crying. She was like, I bonded with this dog. I can't get rid of this dog. So we kept him. And so we're actually thankful we did. Obviously, it was a blessing to keep him. But yeah, in the beginning, I actually wanted to give Winston away. I was like, I can't take this anymore. But
I know it. It's like having a baby in the house.
Oh, but you can't get a baby away. I can give a dog away. But yeah, so we're lucky to have him now. He's just a part. Now the bad part is what I've done is I've branded myself in such a way that when people think of Jacob Heppner, they think of a Corgi. And when they think of a Corgi, they think of Jacob Heppner in the CrossFit space. So now, if this God forbid this dog ever dies, I'm gonna have to go get myself another Corgi now.
You will.
I'm screwed at this point. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Oh, that's too funny. So yeah, what else do you like to do outside of like training for CrossFit? So we know you like your guns and your bow, and I'm guessing spending time outside. But yeah, like what's your go-to kind of hobby stuff?
Honestly, like hobby, in terms of hobby, those are pretty much it. I don't have much time outside of what I do. I think, like I mentioned previously, I don't usually sink my hands into things that I can't monetize or make money off in some way. And so I know right now we are looking into, one of my sponsors is Pure Spectrum, which is a CBD company out of Colorado.
Mhm.
And so one thing we're going to be doing this year that we're trying to do is to grow hemp on our property. We have about 4 acres of land on our property that we rotate beans and corn. And so another farmer does it. He leases the land. I don't do the beans and corn. But we're going to be growing hemp on our property this year with the goal of growing hemp, showing the whole process. We actually have a YouTube channel just for that we called Heppner's Happy Hemp. It's great. And the worst part is, what do you think the logo is?
A corgi.
The dog.
Yeah, it's a freaking corgi. So we screwed ourselves again. But anyway, so we've got a YouTube channel, and the purpose of it is to show people from, like, I have no farming background. My parents were ranched. My wife has no farming background. Her parents were ranchers. And so, like, showing the ground up, like, I have no idea how to grow hemp. I have no idea the difference between marijuana and hemp. I couldn't tell you how to make CBD. But to show people from the ground up, hey, this is how you do it. This is us going through trials and tribulations and errors. Here's the whole process. Just essentially a raw, unfiltered look at it. And so we started that. We'll be essentially growing hemp on our property, harvesting it, and then selling the raw product back to Pure Spectrum, one of my sponsors, essentially giving it to them pretty much. And then they're going to take the product and make unique, specific products, CBD products that came only from our property. So it's going to mix with no other CBD oil. So it'll be essentially a bottle that says Heppner's Happy Hemp logo, but it'll be like powered by Pure. It's under Pure Spectrum. It's a separate line, essentially. So we'll make money from that. But yeah, we're going to try and do that. There's just a lot of, for me, it's cool to try different things and try your hands at things. I mean, if you're young right now, like, why not? And so right now we've started that, and we're waiting for some our certificate or a license to be granted from the state of Kansas in order to grow hemp on our property. There's a lot of loopholes through that. So I do a lot of paperwork for that. But yeah, so just we do a bunch of random things in my house. My wife is a small business owner. She owns and operates 3 different neighborhood magazines in very affluent neighborhoods in Kansas City. So essentially she publishes content, fills ad space. So she's 1099, the same as I have. We're all 1099 in the house. High risk, high reward. We love it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I have a quick question. You said you're going to do a YouTube channel for the hemp growing.
Yep, correct.
So it's going to be like a Green Acres with Jacob Heppner, because you've never done it.
Yeah. So it's actually already live. I think we have like 3 or 4 videos on there essentially already. Yeah, it's on YouTube. You can essentially Google Heppner's Happy Hemp, and I guarantee you there's no other channel that has the same words in it. So, but yeah, it's essentially just a ground up. Essentially, think of like a beginner starting CrossFit and having no idea how to do it, and just starting a YouTube channel. And it's very similar to that. It's like, look, I don't know how to farm. I couldn't tell you how to find pH level in soil. I have to do everything from the ground up, irrigation, the whole 9 yards. But I'm going to show you guys from stage 1 to stage harvest of how we're going to grow hemp. I mean, it might fail, but that's the beauty of YouTube.
well, you have hooked me. I definitely want to check that out.
Yeah, it's just different. I mean, there's a lot of misconceptions. I mean, do I support marijuana? Probably not, but hemp is different, and a lot of people don't understand that. And so that's the kind of what I'm doing, is showing, hey, CBDs, I use CBD all the time. I used it last year leading into the games because my inflammation in my knees, it was wonderful for my knees. And so there's a lot of misconceptions of people don't understand the difference between hemp and marijuana. They don't understand THC. And so it's the beauty of the channel is I don't know a whole lot. I'm going to do the research, and you're going to learn alongside of me, kind of thing.
Well, it certainly helps me sleep very well. So
Oh yes, correct.
Yeah, I used Pure Spectrum last night before bed. So,
funny story is, so I've been working with them for a year. They're great folks, and they sent me some of their product, their Black Label line. It's like their highest density CBD, and I didn't read the fine print at all. I was taking it when they sent it to me. This is probably when was this? After the games, before the Open. So I was getting ready to ramp up for the Open. and I was so tired. I was taking probably, like, I crap you not, I was probably taking 3 to 4 naps a day. Not long naps, but like, I mean, I was so exhausted. And I was talking to Hunter McIntyre, a good friend of mine who also is a Pure Spectrum. And I go, dude, I'm like, when are you taking this? Like, I was like, I'm taking so many naps. And he's like, what are you taking differently? I was like, nothing. And so then we were talking about CBD. He's like, when do you take that? How much do you take at night? I was like, well, I don't really take any at night. He's like, well, when are you taking it? I was like, well, I'm taking it during the day. And he's like, what do you mean? How much? I'm like, I'm taking it like 3 or 4 times a day. He's like, dude, that's supposed to make you drowsy. And then the light bulb went on. I'm like, oh crap. Well, no wonder why I'm taking 3 or 4 naps a day. Like, I was like, something has got to be wrong with me right now. Little did I know, I was inducing it myself. So
Right.
Well, that's actually a great segue because I was going to bring up Hunter. It's cool that you guys have become good friends over the years because of everything that happened with the wild card, and we don't need to rehash all that again. But you're doing a lot of OCR stuff too, right?
Yeah, I think the general idea behind it is like fitness is fitness. I don't care if Amy thinks that the best fitness is water aerobics. And I don't care if Scott thinks the best fitness is CrossFit. And if I think the best fitness is, cricket. It doesn't really matter what you think fitness is. It's the idea of going out and staying active. And I think people need to realize that is they tend to pigeonhole themselves into thinking that the only way to get in shape is CrossFit. Now, do I think CrossFit is a great way to get in shape? Absolutely. But do I think it's the only way? No, I'd be an idiot if I said that. Like there is so many different ways of fitness, and some people don't want to come and do a gym. Some people's genetics are like, you know what? They don't want to come to a gym. Maybe they're an introvert. Maybe they want to just go run. That's fine. As long as they're outside doing something, who cares? And so it's kind of been almost the overarching idea behind Hunter and I's friendship, because Hunter and I come from elite areas in our sport, but completely different sports. And so when our friendship started years ago because FitAid was a mutual sponsor of ours. And FitAid called me up and they're like, yo, we got some guy, his name's Hunter McIntyre. He's going around during the Open. This was the 2018 Open. And they're like, he's going around the Open and going to different high-level athletes that we sponsor, meaning FitAid. And he's doing the Open workout with them and just kind of showing like his fitness in the CrossFit sport. And I was like, they're like, can he come out for 18.3? And I said, absolutely. So this kid shows up. I have no idea who this guy is. I didn't do any research into him. I didn't know who he was. This kid shows up. He is the weirdest dressed, loudest mouthed kid you've ever seen in your life. At first, I was like, who is this turd who comes from Malibu, California with hair, talks to himself, and changes his outfit like every 30 minutes? I was like, this kid is so weird. And then the more you get to know him, the more you realize this kid really loves people. Like, Hunter's such a good kid. And a lot of people will tend to judge him because he's weird on Instagram. I'm not going to lie. He is freaking weird. But I think if you spend time with him and realize who he is and his heart for people and his passion for sport and how he wants people to get into shape, and he doesn't, that's his main passion, is you realize he's such a good kid, and you realize he's going to be one of your favorite friends after a while. And that's what I quickly realized is, like, this kid was weird in the beginning, but we became fast friends. And so fast forward from that, so we did 18.3 together, and he kept telling me, he's like, hey, you need to come to this thing called Tough Mudder X. It was TMX. Essentially what it was a mix between CrossFit and OCR. It's like a mile race filled with obstacle courses and CrossFit movements. And I was like, hey, dude, like, that's right after the Open leading into regionals. I can't do that. I'm not going to go injure myself for this. He's like, okay. Well, then 18.4 happened with handstand push-up standard.
Yeah.
And I had my season opened up tremendously.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, cool. So I called him up and I was like, hey, can I still come out for this? He's like, absolutely, dude. So I bought a ticket the night before and showed up to Sacramento, California, and did this TMX race and just fell in love with the camaraderie there. He introduced me to all the elite level guys, and they were very welcoming to me. Granted, I wasn't from their sport. You know, I'm not a great runner in their sport. I'm a great runner in my sport, but when you transfer to different sports, you're terrible. And did that, loved it. did it in Miami again, and then went to the finals, and Hunter took first and I took second right behind him after training for it for probably a couple weeks essentially. And just, I realized that there are other things out there. And so it's kind of sad. And I think it will change hopefully in the future, but there are not many CrossFit Games athletes out there, individual CrossFit Games athletes, that get outside the box in their gym and do different sports. I don't know if it's because they don't want to get injured, but I think what it comes down to is a pride aspect. I think there's a lot of pride in being I'm elite at my, and this isn't for everyone. This is of course an assumption and hypothetical circumstance, but like there's a lot of pride in the circumstance of, well, I'm really good at my sport. I don't want to go to a different sport and not be good at it. Well, I'll tell you right now, I've been to many sports and got my teeth straight smashed in, but I went back for more and loved it. Like another great example is in 2017, the CrossFit Games did cyclocross. Okay.
Yeah.
And before that, none of us had ever put the word cyclo and cross together and had no freaking idea what it was.
Yeah.
And so they did cyclocross. And I remember looking at it being like, I wasn't there at the games that year either because I had bursitis in my knee and couldn't squat in the open that year. And so I was like, cyclocross, what the crap is this? And so I Googled it, and there was a cyclocross tournament. Actually, I think it was the championship that you could actually enroll in if you wanted to. That was 20 minutes down the road from my house. So I got my mountain bike. Okay. I had no idea, didn't know, joined a random sport. Me and my buddy Andrew showed up with mountain bikes and went to the cyclocross competition. And we got second to last and dead last. I got dead last. And we were heckled and yelled at and called funny names because we're on mountain bikes. There's obviously a cyclocross bike that I didn't know actually existed. But that's my point, is like, go out there and try new sports. Like the hierarchy pyramid of CrossFit is
Right.
nutrition, Metcon, gymnastics, weightlifting, sport.
Yes.
So why not try new sports?
Yeah.
Well, the one big question I had, and that's awesome. The one big question I have is, you and Chandler and Sean all seem to like smack talk with the OCR people. And I know that you guys are friends, but I love that back and forth. Do the people on the OCR side see it in the same way that we do on the CrossFit side when you guys are going back and forth with the smack talk?
Yeah, I hope so. I kind of felt for Hunter this year. So as a quick comparison, Hunter came in as the wild card, and unfortunately there were probably a lot of people in the sport that weren't very welcoming to him, and that sucks. And I felt for him. I felt bad for him because later I went to the Spartan Beast this year, which was 13 miles at like 9,000 feet elevation with Chandler and Sean. And it was horrible. And I wasn't very welcomed there. And so I kind of felt bad. I felt the way that Hunter had felt. And I hope that changes going forward, because I hope people realize that the OCR sport and CrossFit started relatively at the same time and they could actually benefit from each other a lot. Like an OCR racer could really benefit from using CrossFit movements. I mean, look at Hunter McIntyre. He crushes OCR and he does both. And a CrossFitter can definitely benefit from, honest to goodness, just getting outside of the dang gym every now and again. Like, people seem to think that fitness is only defined between our four walls in their CrossFit gym, and that's not true. Like, great, you have a great Fran time, but take it outside the gym. Use it in your life. Your life shouldn't be defined as how many reps you can get, how fast you can go. Take your fitness outside the gym and do OCR races. And I hope that's what people realize, is our sports are really closely related. And so, yeah, to harken back to your question, I hope that a lot of people realize, kind of lost my train of thought there, but I hope people realize that we can benefit from each other there in those kind of sports.
Yeah,
So maybe you need to join the Buttery Bros and go hit up Tribal Clash.
Oh, they actually invited me out.
They did?
I think they actually invited me out before the Buttery Bros went out there. Because, I mean, honest to goodness, the Tribal Clash is pretty much a CrossFit competition. It's not an obstacle course race. It's a team CrossFit competition, right? Like, it's not really obstacle. It's not running. It's on a beach. But yeah, they invited me out to go to one, but I think it was in like Spain or somewhere. Okay. And I was like, no, I don't so guys, I wish I would have went now, so considering our season was canceled. But yeah,
Right.
there's a lot of things out there you can do. Tough Mudder, Spartan Race. I mean, there's a ton of stuff. High Rocks is the one we went to recently with Chandler and I, where we teamed up against Hunter. It's another great example of using your fitness outside the gym.
Well, and I think both sports are kind of in their infancy stages and really could benefit from lifting each other up. You know, with the back and forth that you guys have, it creates some interest. Like, I would never watch a Spartan race before you guys kind of went back and forth. And then I actually tuned in to see how you guys did.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, cross collaboration sports is huge. And I don't know why people don't realize that yet. What Hunter did for our sport by bringing Hunter in, I think they should have done more of. I think Greg Glassman should have used all those wild cards and brought in people from different sports. I think that would have been huge. Now, granted, you have to bring in somebody in their sport who's okay getting beat up and maybe not doing so hot. You know, so you can't have a lot of pride coming in this sport. The same way as we go into other sports. Like, I went into the Spartan Beast knowing I was going to get my teeth kicked in and not win. Was it painful to not win? Absolutely, but I knew it was going to happen. And it's the cross collaboration that's the important part, is bringing fitness to people that people may not have never heard of CrossFit until they showed up and saw us do that. Same concept for you guys. You may have never watched a Spartan race or have never went and did one until you were like, oh, I'll watch it because Heppner's there. And then realize, oh, this could be kind of cool. There's one down the road. Let me go do one. And so it's important to cross collaborate with sports.
Yeah, and I agree. Actually, Amy and I have done a bunch of mud runs. I can't remember the ones they were now, but we did them early on when we started CrossFit back in 11 and 12. Did mud runs just to break it up a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's how the sport started. Like, we actually started very intermixed, and then we kind of split, I think, at some point. Because it used to be that I remember a lot of CrossFitters did mud running, and a lot of mud runners were CrossFitters. And then it split at some point and turned into professional sports and separate entities. And now it's kind of like, hey, let's bring it back together and still enjoy. Because there's sports now being invented as hybrids, and whether it's High Rocks or TNX, they're now hybrids of both sports, which I think is a great business plan.
Yeah. Well, we are now 42 minutes in, and I guess we should probably talk about your CrossFit career a little bit.
Not that important.
But you are a 4-time games athlete, and last year you finished 6th, which is incredible. What are your aspirations this year? Do you think you have a shot at the podium?
If we have the CrossFit Games, I'm a realist. And I think if we have the CrossFit Games, I've always improved every year. So 2014, I was 18. 2015, I was 10th. 2016, I was 7th. In 2019, I was 6th. So yeah, I would absolutely love to improve in podium. I'd love to get 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd, or 1st if I can break Matt Fraser's leg before we go to the games. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd love the podium. And if we have the games, I would love to improve upon the circumstance that I did last year. I mean, I love last year. It was different for sure, but still an enjoyable games experience.
Did you like the cuts?
It's difficult. It's difficult coming from a sport where you're used to having you're guaranteed the whole weekend and then being cut. It was different in a way that the one advantage was I liked how intimate it was.
Yeah.
If there's only, the years past was 40 guys, 40 girls. And this year it was 20 of us. That includes guys and girls. So if you didn't think it was intimate, you'd be wrong. Like, we were all in the same room together. They had guys and girls changing rooms, but I don't think anyone ever went there because it was so far away. We just all kind of hung out. We didn't change together. Let me just clarify that. We all hung out together, and it was, I really enjoy Haley Adams, and I got to hang out with Haley Adams for a long time. I got to hang out with her before, but it was fun hanging out with her in a games atmosphere. And so it was fun to hang out with Noah Olson and get to know Matt Fraser better and get to hang out with those guys and just sit there and rub shoulders and just talk for long periods of time. It was a very intimate games, I thought, and I enjoyed that aspect of it. Now, of course, I was blessed to have qualified and was top 10 and was able to be a part of that intimacy. I'm sure from the outside looking in, it was difficult getting cut. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure it was very difficult getting cut and putting in all that work and whether you get cut in the first workout or the sixth workout. That's got to be very difficult to deal with.
When you've been to 4 different games now, what was your favorite event in those four appearances?
Favorite events? Honestly, I honestly think, honest to goodness, it was retesting Murph.
Yeah.
That was great. It was a big old it was either first or second Murph. That just is just a vivid memory for me. It was so freaking hot the first time. And I remember how many naysayers and complainers there were about putting us in this circumstance. And you know what you signed up for. Like, it's
Right.
California in summer. Like, what did you think we were going to do? And so I think I wouldn't change it for the world. That's a memory that'll stick through the rest of my life, is being able to run the last mile, come back in, and you have just people cheering out the wazoo for anybody and everybody. They don't even care. They just want to see you finish. It's just an experience I'll never forget. And then I think one of my favorite memories this year was the final event at the games in the Coliseum. You'll have to realize I have never been in the Coliseum before, because we moved over in 17 and 18, and I hadn't been to the games. And so in 19, if I'd have gotten cut, I would have not seen the Coliseum again. And so being able to go in the Coliseum and do the final workout there, I'm not going to lie, like before the final workout, I shed some tears standing out there. I think I was taken aback when they said 3, 2, 1, go. Oh crap, I got to freaking wipe my face off and grab this barbell and start clean jerking this stupid thing. But it was just a really cool experience to be out there and everyone's screaming. It's just loud, and it's like, these things you're never going to forget in life.
Yeah, I never got to go to California, but I was at the 17 games, and that Coliseum is so intimate. Like, there's no space between the floor and the crowd.
No, absolutely. That's the part I liked about it. My parents bought tickets like right at the finish line. Crapping expensive, but they bought them. And so it was really cool to get done with an event, and your mom's right there. I can hug Noah's mom's, Wendy's right there, Mrs. Olson's right there. I mean, everyone's moms are right there. It's just cool to be able to finish, and like, you're just there with a bunch of friends at the end. You can hug them and kiss them and whatever, and then go back and dread the next workout.
Doesn't matter if you're 8 or 30, you still want to hug your mom at the end of the event.
That's right. Tell me I did good, Mom.
That makes me super happy.
Well, we want to thank you very much for taking some time out and being with us a little bit. And it was really fun getting to know you a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great. And good luck to you. I really hope we get to have the season so we can see you out there. So
me too. I totally
wishing
agree.
you
Me
luck.
too. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks for having me. Have a good day.
All right.
You too.